zama kaman 1/2 kenan, kowane masallaci shi ma an je za a na ɗaura wannan kenan.
May I have the honor and privilege to invite our own Barrister Sani Dawaki, Head of Kano Division of the Investment and Securities Tribunal, to discuss the role of Investment and Securities Tribunal in resolving halal investment disputes. Barrister Sani Dawaki. Al-Takbir. And may I recognize my Lord Justice Ali Abubakar Babandikumen, the presiding justice of the Kano Court of Appeal Kano Division. My Lord, you are welcome back to this session. May I equally recognize the pioneer president of this noble association, the former Attorney General of Bauchi State, Alhaji Ibrahim Omar. Sir, you are welcome.
So nice.
And inshallah, as time goes on, we continue making the recognition, and like we crave the indulgence of the local branches to please forward the names of the respected guests from their various chapters. With this, I hand over the mic to the chairman of this very important occasion for the proper taking over.
Man kamar sai an sake ɗauko mana sunaye.
Sorry, thank you. I crave your indulgence to rest on the existing protocol. Time is fast spent, and we have a lot of programs lying ahead of us. I will not waste your time. You have erudite speakers. The professor has sent his paper, soft copy. He went straight to the point. He needs no further introduction. I will begin with him so that we will not waste time. Now, it is very easy to think of halal investment, the opportunities and challenges of legal practitioners. The learned professor actually is an accountant by profession. So if you don't hear him speak about disputes and dispute resolutions within our legal framework or system, you should not be disappointed. I'm sure what I read, he has read also on the opportunities. Of course, whether I see the papers or not, having practiced law for about 17 years and adjudicated in a commercial court for about 90 years, I have a little idea on what investment is all about. But when it comes to the issue of halal, this is where the nitty-gritties will now be dealt with. Since I have the closing remark, I will allow them to take off immediately without much ado so that we can go and understand the heart of the paper. I thank MULAN for finding me worthy to chair this occasion, even though I'm not a Sharia specialist, but since my retirement, before I was appointed to the Code of Conduct Bureau, I went back to school. I'm an Islamic student of law and Arabic now. So I have an idea of what we are talking about, and I'm excited being part of it. But in the course of my practice, I've had a lot of interest. Apart from the fact that I did Sharia, I'm also one of those who did Sharia LLM. In ABU, past coursework, I never wrote thesis. So it is because of interest in Sharia that I am also part of it. I thought probably if I had written thesis, I would have been one of the professors sitting today with them. Prof, let me call you without much ado, take off the floor and keep to time so that we can discuss the paper. And don't expect this session to be as robust as the last one, because you know who actually handled the last session. I haven't told you, it's my mentor. Don't be disappointed if this one is less exciting, but definitely I assure you are also going to get the mental loop. I'm happy he's here. His presence has really given me a lot of moral support. Thank you.
To rest on the already established protocol in view of time constraints. The title of my presentation, which I hope it will be put on the screen soon, is Halal Finance and Investments in Nigeria, Opportunities and Challenges for Legal Practitioners. I would like to start with a caveat. I'm not going to speak as a lawyer or a legal practitioner. From the introduction, I was introduced as I send you 2 papers, so I pay PowerPoint is there. From the introduction, I was introduced as someone from the Department of Accounting. So I will speak mostly the language of finance and not the language of law or lawyers. But still, I hope to be able to carry us along as we proceed. The paper is organized in 6 sections, starting with an introduction. The second section covers an overview of the halal finance and investment, then opportunities of halal finance and investment for legal practitioners. Section 4 focuses on some key challenges of halal finance and investment for legal practitioners. Section 5 highlights some of the ways by which the challenges of halal finance and investment can be addressed. And then there will be a 1-slide conclusion. Halal finance, more commonly known as Islamic finance and referred to as non-interest finance in the Nigerian context, is an indispensable component of the halal economy ecosystem. This means that halal finance is an indispensable component, is one of the core components of the halal economy ecosystem. The halal economy is a multi-trillion-dollar religion agnostic market that promotes the ethical, transparent, and Sharia-compliant production and trade of goods and services for both Muslim and non-Muslim consumers. This is important because it helps us to understand the issues or the philosophy behind the halal economy ecosystem. One, in terms of size, it is a multi-trillion-dollar. 2, in terms of market reach, it is a religion agnostic market, By religion agnostic market, we mean a market that does not care who the consumer is. Whether a Muslim or a non-Muslim, it does not matter. What matters is the processes. That the market ensures that all the processes involved in the production and trade of goods and services are Sharia compliant. That's the most important thing as far as the halal economy ecosystem is concerned. Three essential elements define the halal economy. These are: number one, compliance with Islamic law, because that is the bedrock. It is the main foundation. It is the key issue. It is the main philosophy behind the halal economy ecosystem. Compliance with Islamic law, with Sharia. Number two, ethical and transparent practices. All the practices within the halal economy ecosystem are expected or required to be ethical and transparent. By ethical, it must actually observe or respect the values of honesty, of integrity, of justice, of fairness, and so on. And also to promote social justice. In terms of transparency, it means there must not be any element of fraud or deception, so that people will know exactly what they are into, what they are doing, and what they stand to get. Number three, inclusive market reach. The market of the halal economy ecosystem is inclusive. It is not exclusive of any particular group of people or followers of a particular religion. It is inclusive, all-embracing, all-inclusive in nature, because it is meant for both Muslim and non-Muslim consumers. The main sectors of the halal economy ecosystem, which I believe it must have been discussed by the previous speakers, are: number one, halal food and beverages. Two, halal or Islamic finance, which is the core of our discussion. Three, halal pharmaceuticals. Four, modest fashion. Five, halal cosmetics and personal care. And six, Muslim-friendly travel and tourism. These are the core sectors of the halal economy ecosystem. In addition to the core sectors, the halal ecosystem includes several cross-cutting and emerging segments, such as media and entertainment, digital platforms, education and training, and halal logistics and certification services. Halal food and beverages remain the largest segment of the global halal economy by consumer spending, while halal finance, which is the crux of our discussion, is the second largest sector and the largest by asset value, which means while the halal economy ecosystem is very large and the global size of the halal economy ecosystem has been estimated at around $7.2 trillion. The halal finance, also known as Islamic finance or non-interest finance in the context of Nigeria, occupies the center stage, because all the other core sectors requires the services of finance, without which anything about production and trade will not actually come to fruition. So therefore, halal finance and investment is the nerve, is the core of all our discussions on the halal economy ecosystem. It is in view of this that this presentation examines halal finance and investment in Nigeria, with particular emphasis on the opportunities and challenges they present for legal practitioners. So I want to briefly look or take us through a brief or short journey on the overview of halal finance and investment. Halal finance is a system of financial intermediation, in Arabic, al-wasata al-maliya, based on Sharia that ensures money is earned and invested in accordance with ethical Sharia-compliant principles. Halal investment, on the other hand, is the investment components of Islamic finance, involving the allocation of funds only to Sharia-compliant assets, businesses, and financial instruments, while excluding sectors deemed impermissible under Islamic law. Halal finance rests on 5 philosophical foundations, the most important of which is the concept or the principle of wealth belongs to Allah. All wealth belongs to Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ascribed and attributed wealth to himself. وَآتُوهُمْ مِمَّا لِلَّهِ الَّذِي آتَاكُمْ. And give them from the wealth of Allah that he has provided you with. So it means wealth belongs to Allah. Everything. وَلِلَّهِ مِيرَاثُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Everything belongs to Allah. And if Allah is the ultimate owner of all wealth, then he should be the one to dictate, to decide, to command, to show how this wealth should be earned or spent. أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. Since Allah is the owner of all wealth, then he should be the one to tell us, to decide, to command us on how to earn, acquire, grow, preserve, and distribute it. This is the most important principle as far as the halal ecosystem, the halal finance is all about. So Allah determines right or wrong. You cannot decide that this is halal or this is haram. It is not permissible, it is haram, it is not acceptable, it is against the commandments of Allah for anyone, whoever he may be, to say this is halal or this is haram, except with the command of Allah. That is one. 2, that there is the principle of use of bounties, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created abundant wealth. In elementary economics, we teach students that resources are limited. Yes, they are limited to the extent of individuals and communities. But it is not. Resources are not actually limited. They have been created in abundance. In abundance, Allah has created wealth in abundance. But it may be limited to me, or limited to you, or limited to them. But there is this principle of use of bounties of Allah. فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. So you can always explore, you can always use the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That which Allah has provided you, it is for you. You are to hold it in trust, and you can always make use of it. Another principle is that there is economic freedom. One of the principles in Islam is that every human being is free to pursue livelihood. Is free to pursue livelihood. You can always go out in search of livelihood. And that's why we'll see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praising some of his servants who combine worship with struggling for livelihood. Where Allah says in Surah An-Nur, رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِيهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْءٌ عن ذكر الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة يخافون يوما تتقلب فيه القلوب والأبصار ليجزيهم الله أحسن ما عملوا ويزيدهم من فضله والله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. So there is this principle that there is economic freedom. Another philosophical foundation for halal finance is principle of justice. That injustice is not allowed. People should be treated fairly. Another principle is principle of moderation. For everything, you must exercise balance. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. So that principle of moderation. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَنفَقُوا لَمْ يُسْرِفُوا وَلَمْ يَقْتُرُوا وَكَانَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ قَوَامًا وَلَا تَجْعَلْ يَدَكَ مَغْلُولَةً إِلَى عُنُقِكَ وَلَا تَبْسُطْهَا كل البسط So that principle of moderation. Why? Because outside moderation, we have extravagance. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frowns at extravagance. وَلَا تُبَذِّرْ تَبْذِيرًا إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينِ وَكَانَ الشَّيْطَانُ لِرَبِّهِ كَفُورًا. Halal finance is guided by the following 5 principles, 4 principles. Number 1, prohibition of interest. Interest has been prohibited. There is ijma on this, based on the provisions of the Quran and Sunnah, as well as ijma. In the Quran, we all know, in Surah Al-Baqarah, for example, verse 275, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ الرِّبَا لَا يَقُومُونَ إِلَّا كَمَا يَقُومُ الَّذِي يَتَخَبَّطُهُ الشَّيْطَانُ مِنَ الْمَسِّ ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَا وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. So therefore, interest has no place in halal finance or investment. Again, Allah says, يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَا وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ. Also Allah says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَذَرُوا مَا بَقِيَ مِنَ الرِّبَا إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ فَإِن لَّمْ تَفْعَلُوا فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. So therefore, there is absolute exclusion, ban, and prohibition on riba. So riba, prohibition of riba is one of the core principles of halal finance. 2, prohibition of gambling, maisir or qimar. Because Allah says in the Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه لعلكم تفلحون. إنما يريد الشيطان أن يوقع بينكم العداوة والبغضاء في الخمر والميسر ويصدكم عن ذكر الله وعن الصلاة فهل أنتم منتهون. So therefore, there is also ijma that any kind of transaction or trade that involves the consumption or trade of that involves gambling or alcohol, it is not permissible. Again, excessive speculation. Excessive speculation here means, because speculation is allowed. Generally in business, you speculate. For example, you may buy something in the hope that in the next 1 month or 1 year, the price will appreciate, isn't it? But where speculation is excessive to the extent that it is like gambling, you are doing it like gambling, then it is haram. This is not acceptable in Islamic law. Another principle is avoidance of excessive uncertainty, al-gharar. Now this is interesting. In Islam, al-gharar, the door to al-gharar has not completely locked or shut. Why? Because there is no business without some elements of uncertainty. And that is why the fuqaha, the jurists, distinguish between gararun yasirun and gararun fahishun. Gararun yasirun on excessive uncertainty, and gararun fahishun, excessive uncertainty. So excessive uncertainty, for example, there is no clarity about price, about time of delivery, about the number of the quantity, about quality, and so on. This kind of ignorance or lack of knowledge about a product makes it al-gararul fahishu, and it is not permissible. Then there is the issue of sanctity of contract. This is also very interesting. It's not just about prohibition of interest, riba. It's not just about prohibition of gambling, qimar or mason. It's not just about prohibition of excessive speculation or excessive uncertainty. But also, whatever you are going to transact, whatever you are going to deal in must be halal, must be legitimate. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, ittaqullaha وَأَجْمِلُوا فِي الطَّلَبِ خُذُوا مَا هَلَّ وَدَعُوا مَا حَرُمَ. Fear Allah, have the fear of Allah, and be decent in your search for livelihood. Take that which is permissible and leave that which is not permissible. So therefore, whatever you do, it must be halal, it must be legitimate, it must be permissible. Otherwise, it is not halal and it's not going to fall within the purview of halal finance. The last but of course not the least is the issue of Sharia governance and ethical investment. We shall make reference to this or refer to this later, inshallah. According to the Islamic Financial Services Board, IFSB, global Islamic finance assets reach approximately $3.88 trillion in 2024. Nigeria's Islamic finance industry was estimated at approximately $2.9 billion at the end of 2022, with continued expansion in Islamic banking assets and sukuk issuance in subsequent years. Halal finance have 5 major components. Number 1, banking, which in Nigeria dominates. Professor Adam Abubakar told us the number of banks we have so far. The next component is takaful. He also told us the number of takaful companies we have. The next is capital market, represented largely by sukuk issuance. We have the federal government sukuk, which is based on ijara mawsufa fi dhimma, that is lease, forward lease structure. And we are now in the 7th series. And from the information we got from DMO, Debt Management Office of Nigeria, they are working on the 8th series. Each time they issue a sukuk, it is been oversubscribed. The last one, the 7th series, they issued it hoping to raise a maximum of 300 billion naira. 300 billion naira. And guess what? At the end of the offer, which was just for about 1 week or so, they got more than 1 trillion naira. So it was highly oversubscribed to the extent that they didn't even know how to go about it. So now they are working on the 8th series. Apart from that, we have many state governments that have issued sukuk, including Lagos State. Lagos State has issued its 1st series, and it is now in the 2nd series. We have the Gombe Joel School, sukuk by Gombe State government. We have the Caliphate sukuk in Sokoto, and we have few other ones. The first state to issue sukuk in Nigeria was Osun State in 2013, and it has been liquidated. Already it has been liquidated, it has actually ended. And we have many corporate sukuk. For example, Taj Bank had issued its first Mudaraba sukuk, and it is now in the 2nd series. Jaiz Bank is about to roll out its own. Alternative Bank is also about to roll out 2 different sukuk. So this is the main components of the capital market, Islamic capital market. Then we have Islamic equity and funds, which Professor Adam has also told us the number of companies and those that are just licensed to carry out business, the business of collecting funds and investing on behalf of investors. And then the last component is what is called other Islamic financial institutions, for example, fintech, Islamic finance media outlets, and so on. So these are the 5 major components of halal finance. In terms of instruments of halal finance, we can identify 3 types of instruments. Debt-like, PLS, that is profit and loss sharing like, and then services, such as Wadi'a, that is deposit collection, and Wakala, that is agency. But then, under debt-like, we have sales-based, we have lease-based, and under PLC, we have partnership-based. And the next slide will tell us what we mean by these 3 types. Number 1, under sale-based, we have Murabaha. Murabaha is an interesting financial product that is very popular under halal finance. All of you, especially those of you with Islamic law background, under the law of contract, under commercial law of transaction, Islamic commercial law, under transactions, we have what is called that is a chapter on sell or trading. And in that chapter, there are different types of sales, one of which is Murabaha. So in the book of Mukhtasar of Khalil ibn Ishaq, he mentioned clearly the issue of Murabaha, that you can go to a vendor, someone sell you something, and say, how much is the cost to you for this product? And I will give you a markup, I will give you an addition. This is called murabaha, but we call it murabaha adiyah in the language of modern finance. Why? Because Islamic financial institutions like banks will not open shop and bring so many things like a businessman in Singa market or in Kori market or in Sabangar market or in Kasokurmi market. They will not do that. Rather, they are into financial intermediation, wasaba maliya. That is the core of their business. So it is you who will meet them and say, I want to own a motor, a vehicle, but I don't have money. Can you give me? They said, no, we don't sell. Okay, how can I get it? Borrow me money, lend me money so I can buy. I said, no, we don't deal in interest-based lending. So how am I going to do? Then they will say, if you like, we can buy and sell to you. We can buy and sell to you. And go to the person selling the car, agree with him on the price, come to us with the invoice. We will now look at the invoice. If it is agreeable between us, then we tell you what will be our markup, our profit. So we'll buy and pay directly, and then we sell it to you. This is called al-murabaha lil-amiri bishra'i. Murabaha lil-amiri bishra'i. Meaning murabaha to the purchase orderer. It is not the bank that will go and purchase on its own and keep waiting for you to come and buy. No. You are the one to initiate the transaction, and they will buy for its own self. The bank will buy for the bank and sell to you. Now, what is the difference between this and money lending? The difference is there is asset, because we are dealing with motor Kano, a vehicle. Two, because the bank is buying directly from the vendor in its own name for its own sake and then selling to you, it has taken some risk. Because what happened? If in the course of buying, before the car is transferred to the sale to ultimate buyer, if something happens, who takes the risk? Who bears the risk? The bank. So because of that, we can use the popular qaida, the maqsid, the qaida fiqhiyya, al-gunmu, who will complete, al-gunmu bil-gurni, al-gunmu bil-gurni. So we use that qaida and say, okay, the bank is eligible to net profit because it takes risk. So this is called murabaha lil-amir bishra. And then we have salam, bay'u salam, which in the books of Bukhari and Muslim, as many other books of ahadith, the issue of salam has been mentioned. It is called salaf, it is called salam, according to some jurists. Then there is istisna. We are not going to discuss all these financial modes because that's not the cross of the matter. Under this, we have ijara. It could be ijara muntahiyya bi tamlik or ijara mutanakil, ijara biliktina or ijara mawsufa fi dhimma. Three types of ijara can be identified. Then we have equity based like mudaraba or qirar, as it is in the books of Malikiya. Qirar, that is also called mudaraba. And then we have musharaka. And then under agency, you can have kafala, bil ujra, and wakala, bil ujra or bighairi ujra. So these are the different instruments that are used in halal finance and investment. Now, halal investment encompasses a wide range of Sharia compliant assets, including screened equities, sukuk, real estate, private equity, and venture capital, infrastructure and project finance, agriculture and agribusiness, as well as sectors within the halal economy. The growth of halal finance and investment is increasing demand for legal expertise, providing a basis for understanding the opportunities and challenges for legal practitioners. Here now, we come to the crux of the matter. What are the opportunities and what are the challenges of halal finance and investment for you, legal practitioners? Of course, I understand I have only 3 minutes, so I'll try to, summarize these opportunities and challenges, inshallah. Halal finance and investment present several opportunities for you, legal practitioners, including you as advisors, you as investors, and you as entrepreneurs. When we look at you as an owner of a law firm, as a law firm owner, as a chamber owner, you are an entrepreneur. So you can actually key into halal finance as an advisor or as an investor or as an entrepreneur. Let's look at it. As an advisor, regulatory advisory. You can always give advisory to people who want to key into the halal economy ecosystem or halal finance as an expert in the regulations. You have the KAMA, you have the BOFIA, you have the CBN Act, you have the SEC Act. All these are very, very relevant for anyone going into halal finance. You also have the NDIC Act. And many people cannot make sense of it. They cannot read and understand. You, the legal experts, would be able to interpret and also advise them accordingly. There is also compliance services. You can also provide services regarding Sharia compliance, making sure the chairman in his remark told us that he was made to buy some books. Is it Asal Madariki? Why do you want to make that statement, chairman? Okay, someone made a statement that he was made to buy Asal al-Madariki because he wanted to know more about Islamic law. Asal al-Madariki, we know, is an important text in the Maliki school of thought or school of law. So, you can advise clients, your clients, who want to key into the halal economy ecosystem or halal finance on Sharia compliance, including audits, legal and due diligence. You can also work as an advisor who specializes in dispute resolution like mediation and arbitration. These are your core business, your core area. So as a legal practitioner, you can provide this kind of services. So you are now serving as an advisor, which means there is opportunity for you. You can actually key in and you can make a lot of money, just as people who are outside your legal profession make money out of this. And you are rendering a service which is good and it is halal. Again, as an investor, many law practitioners or legal practitioners used to win, those who win high profile cases. They get up to 250 million. 500 million. Yet they don't invest. They only send their children to exorbitant schools. They buy luxurious cars. They display their wealth. They do this, they do that. When they retire, thank God, they are retiring with fat salary. Otherwise, if they retire, if they are not careful, help us. Why? Because they are not making any investment. If you don't invest for the rainy day, you will live to cry. You will cry one day because something will happen and nobody will care. People will only come to you and give you something, maybe a helping hand, because you are still occupying the bench. Once you leave that bench, you are just like an ordinary lecturer like me. No more, no less. Even if they call you your highness, your lordship, it's just in theory, on paper, on the lips, nothing more than that. So if you really want to make it, you must invest. So you can key into halal finance as an investor. And this you can do through direct investment in sukuk, in halal equity investment, in halal mutual Islamic funds, and in real estate. Again, you can diversify your portfolio. These are some areas that could be of interest to you as legal practitioner. As an entrepreneur, you have a chamber, a legal firm, or a law firm. What do you do with it? With respect to halal finance or halal economy ecosystem. There are a lot of things that you can do. I will leave the paper so that later you can read, so we can save time, inshallah. Then on the part of the challenges, there are many challenges, and I am able to identify 4 areas of challenges. 1, legal and judicial challenge. 2, professional challenge. 3, market challenge. And 4, institutional challenge. Under legal and judicial, there is limited halal finance legislation. Although in Nigeria, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the enactment or with the coming of BOFIA 2020, I think we are adequately covered as far as halal finance is concerned in Nigeria. Most of the important things that we needed to see, even though I'm not a lawyer, but at least I take interest in going through some of these documents. So at least we are covered to some extent. But in terms of jurisdiction, it was mentioned in the last session, there is a problem. The first ever judgment given by a Muslim judge in a case involving one of the Islamic banks and a customer was decided against the bank. Not because the bank was at fault, not because the bank could not establish its case, but because the judge is completely unaware of the rudiments, the modus operandi of Islamic finance. He did his best, he did his ijtihad, but he erred in ijtihad, all on account of lack of knowledge. I think the case was decided in 2019 also. It was the first judgment involving an Islamic bank and a customer. And the case was decided not in favor of the bank, even though the bank has abundant evidence and it's presented, but on technicalities, as you people will say, technical ground. Because what he was supposed to use, he didn't know it. And Fajiru Shayin, La yubi, you cannot give what you don't have. So therefore, he erred in his judgment. And the court, the bank could not appeal, because even if you appeal, it will be the same thing, unless if, assuming it is now, where you have people who really have knowledge on this. Because the problem is, even in most of the federal high courts, when they have cases involving Islamic finance issues, they don't take the time to invite someone to sit with them. It's not permissible. It's not allowed. That they cannot invite anyone, or at least seek the opinion of someone who is an expert in that area. They can do that, Adi. Now, if they can do that, if they don't do, they can err in law. But if it is permissible and they don't do, then it is negligence. But if it's not permissible, it's not allowed legally based on the procedure, then there is nothing we can do about it. But the problem is this problem of limited halal finance legislation, regulatory overlaps, is there, and there are very few precedents. In law, you rely heavily on precedents, but you cannot find precedents on real judgment involving Islamic financial institutions and their clients in Nigeria. Perhaps if you have, it may not be up to 10, and they might not have been documented so far. So it means there are very few precedents. Then there is also limited judicial expertise, as we keep on saying. Professionally, there is knowledge gaps among our legal practitioners, among our judges, including judges of Islamic and Sharia courts. They have limited expertise. Yes, they know Muqtasar. Some of them can read up-head the content of Muqtasar Khalil, from Yaqul al-Faqiru, the beginning of Muqtasar, up to the last statement, Fala Ishkala, which is the end of Muqtasar. They can bring it up-head. But the problem is when it comes to practicalizing, applying it in the context of modern financial transactions. Wallahi, many of them have that knowledge gap, which means it's a professional challenge. There is also lack of specialists. Yes, people may have gone through like Islamic finance certificate, blah, blah, but specialization matters. Are you specializing as a Sharia scholar, or as an operator, or as a regulator, or as an adjudicator, or as a mediator, or an arbitrator, or who? There should be this kind of specialization. The market is really suffering from low awareness and misconception. And lastly, limited Sharia governance structure. Now the last point. How do we address these challenges? So that I don't leave you with the burden of thinking how to address it. In my own opinion, we can address these challenges, one, by promoting the halal finance and investment economic benefits, engaging diverse groups to build trust, and advocating relevant and suitable financial and legal reforms. Professor Adam Abubakar also canvassed this, that as legal practitioners, you are in a better position to advocate financial and legal reforms. Two, build skilled talent through training, certifications and partnerships, and establish specialist practice group. And lastly, develop the essential knowledge, skills, and mindset required to manage money responsibly. Even as legal practitioners, you should be able to manage money responsibly. You should be able to save and invest wisely, and you should be able to avoid unethical financial practices. So in conclusion, halal finance and investments are not solely religious concepts. They are an ethical, inclusive, and rapidly growing economic ecosystem. For Nigerian legal practitioners, for you, the Nigerian legal practitioners, halal finance and investment present opportunities to serve as trusted advisors, strategic investors, and innovative entrepreneurs. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاه والسلام على رسول الله والسلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته.
We thank Professor Bello. I privilege no time. This is the name of one of the judges.
Okay.
I keep telling people, even though I'm currently serving in the Code of Conduct Bureau, I tell them the Code of Conduct was never given by the 5th schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It was Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu. Is the father or the beginner of Code of Conduct. The professor, another professor, had told you about the economic part of the law. As you practice the law, practice the economic part of it. He has tried also to go into the challenges, which I know the Muslim lawyers will just say he only scratched the surface. I deliberately refuse to make opening remarks because I know time will be of the essence. We'll get back to it very soon. And for the judges, he also tried to say this. But we all know as Muslims, there are only 3 kinds of judges. Only 2 will go to heaven, and only 1 will go to heaven, 2 categories will go to heaven. Those who know the law and refuse to judge according to the law, and those who judge without knowing the law, whether they are right or wrong, they belong to the category of heaven. For a Muslim lawyer, being a judge and being ignorant, when you hear the Code of Conduct saying being ignorant is part of misconduct. For a Muslim judge, you already know the moment you don't know the law, you cannot even be a judge. So that is what we are enriched with. When you try to say some of them do not know the law. So if you do not know the law, you belong to one of the category that will go to hell. So we thank the professor again, and without waste of time, I quickly call on my friend Sani Dawaki to go to the next paper so that we can have enough time, if time will never be enough for us to discuss. Because as far as I'm concerned, all this investment, the last speaker was talking, I know he will talk about it. Transmission of shares, we know the law of Mirat on inheritance, and when you go and do all these investments, and the lawyers get that, there will be problem. We'll come back to it in the course of discussion. Maybe we'll just scratch the surface. Please, you have, how many minutes do I give him? At least now you being in the profession, I will thank you. I love the professor of accountant, but I will thank you. How many minutes do I give?
As my name.
Okay, he said 15, but I will cut it down to 12, so that we'll have time to discuss. I know you are eager to the time.
The paper is not bulky, but
Yes,
that 12 may not be adequate against it.
I will give you extension of time so that having begun to answer prayers and comments and other programs.
So much.
Okay. Because I got my remarks completely.
Exactly.
Okay. So,
My Lord, Honorable Justice Ali Abubakar Pabali Guman, Justice of the Court of Appeal. My Lord, Justice Ibrahim Buba, Justice of the High Court, retired. Other judges here present, senior colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Before you is Barrister Sani Dawaki, working with the Investment and Securities Tribunal at the head of the Northwest Divisions. And the paper title is The Role of Investment and Securities Tribunal in resolving halal disputes in Nigeria. Quickly, there are some abbreviations you will come across on the paper. So take note. 1, if you see SEC, that means Securities and Exchange Commission. If you see IST, Investment and Securities Tribunal. If you see ISA, Investment and Securities Act. And if you see FHC, Federal High Court. If you see CIS, collective investment scheme. And if you see AAOIFI, Accounting Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions. On behalf of the Honorable Chairman, Investment and Securities Tribunal, I bring to you warm greetings and wishes to express our deepest appreciation to this August Assembly, the annual General Conference of the Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, MULAN, currently holding in the Asian city of Kano.
I think the MCK factor of the action. One of the disposals is for mobile and the legal account to promote capital. It's about the government and answers.
Yes.
We are on the highway.
Yeah.
You see around. The thing is around the capital of the police. Mr. Omobola. And Mr. Omobola of the million.
See,
I think this girl is a Mrs.
Mrs.
Oh, so she's going to come back on it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh,
it's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the Investment and Securities Tribunal is established under the Investment and Securities Act 2025 to adjudicate disputes arising from investment and securities transactions in Nigeria. While it is not a Sharia court, it has jurisdiction over many disputes involving Islamic finances, capital market products that fall within the Nigerian capital market framework. It is noteworthy that the Investment and Securities Tribunal is the only court that can hear and determine Islamic capital market disputes, i.e., disputes involving SEC-regulated products such as sukuk, takaful, Islamic funds, etc. The jurisdictional role of IST as a gatekeeper could be seen in under Section 326 of the Section 326 sub 1 paragraph B of the Investment and Securities Act 2025 gives the Investment and Securities Tribunal jurisdiction over disputes arising from administration, management, and operation of collective investment schemes. SEC rules classify sukuk, Islamic rates, non-interest mutual funds as collective investment schemes and securities. Suffice it to say, where disputes involve the following: sukuk default, that is ijara, mudaraba, musharaka, sukuk. B, Islamic fund management, halal equity funds, non-interest money market funds. C, takaful, linked securities registered with the SEC. And D, SEC Sharia Advisory Council decisions on product approval. Only IST can hear and determine it. All other courts, including the Federal High Court, must refer, transfer, or strike out the case. That is what the Supreme Court confirmed in the case of Mofesona, Tayo Oyechidibo against Lagos government and 8 others. In another case, Muftau Ajayi versus Security and Exchange Commission. These were the Supreme Court decisions that conferred jurisdiction on the Investment and Security Tribunal to determine cases involving capital markets. The claimants in Mofesona case sued Lagos State Government and 8 others at Federal High Court Lagos. The claim was about the breach of investment contracts and mismanagement in a real estate scheme. Lagos State argued Federal High Court had no jurisdiction, but because it was a capital market investment dispute, Federal High Court insisted it has a jurisdiction, and Court of Appeal affirmed the Federal High Court's decision. However, the Supreme Court, in its ruling, reversed all of them, involving that holding that the jurisdiction over the subject matter belongs to Investment and Securities Tribunal. The learned justices went further to interpret Section 284 sub 1 ISA 2025, where a dispute arises from any of the matters listed in Section 284 sub 1 of ISA. The Federal High Court has no jurisdiction. The exclusive jurisdiction is donated to the Investment and Securities Tribunal by statute. Parties cannot confer jurisdiction by consent. That is the statement of the Supreme Court justices. The technical and Sharia bridges. The composition of the tribunal is 12 members, the chairman with 4 lawyers and 1 non-lawyer as full-time members, 4 lawyers and 2 non-lawyers as part-time members with 10 years post-call and capital market experience. The non-lawyer too are required to be knowledgeable in capital markets. For Islamic finances cases, IST plays 3 roles, namely 1. Statutory interpreter. IST applies ISA 2025 SEC rules 2025 trust deed terms to decide if there is breach of disclosure, mismanagement, or misappropriation. Market expertise panel. Technical members understands Sukuk structures, asset backing profit calculation, much better than the Federal High Court judges who may not know Ijara and Mudaraba. Sharia fact finder. IST admits Sharia board fatwas. Expert testimony per IST rules order 9. However, IST does not issue Sharia rulings, but relies on SEC Sharia Advisory Council and party experts to decide if non-compliance has occasioned loss. The bottom line is that while IST is not a Sharia court, it is a capital market court that enforces contract and SEC rules that happen to reference Sharia compliance. The job of a lawyer here is to bridge the two languages. Principally, the Investment and Securities Tribunal statutory mandate includes but not limited to the following. 1. Resolving dispute arising from Sukuk. The IST may hear disputes relating to Sukuk, issuance, and investments, rights and obligations of issuers, trustees, and investors, disclosure and regulatory compliance matters, breach of investments agreements, as Sukuk is a capital market instrument regulated by the SEC. Disputes arising therefrom fall within the tribunal's jurisdiction. Investor protection. The tribunal protects investors in halal investment products by ensuring fair treatment of investors, compliance with the securities laws and regulations, enforcement of contractual and statutory rights. This is particularly important for retail investors participating in Sharia compliance funds and securities. Enforcement of regulatory standards. The IST serves as a forum for reviewing decisions and actions involving Securities and Exchange Commission, capital market operators, fund managers, and trustees. This helps maintain confidence in Islamic capital market products. Dispute resolution for Islamic funds. The tribunal handles and effectively manages ethical investment funds, collective investment schemes, and asset management arrangements. Such disputes may concern mismanagement, breach of fiduciary duties, disclosure failures, or regulatory non-compliance. Provision of specialized market experts. The tribunal possesses experts in securities regulations, investment transactions, and capital market operations. This makes it well suited to handle the technical aspect of Islamic investment disputes where the products are regulated by the SEC, supporting confidence in capital markets. By providing an efficient dispute resolution mechanism, the ISD contributes to market integrity, investor confidence, growth of the Islamic finance industry, development of the halal economy. One area that remains important is the integration of Sharia expertise into dispute resolution. While the IST has strong capital market expertise, halal investment disputes may also require consideration of the Sharia governance framework, fatwas and Sharia advisory committee rulings, accounting and auditing organization for Islamic finance institutions, AAOIFI standard, and Islamic commercial jurisprudence. This presents an opportunity for greater collaboration between Investment and Securities Tribunal, IST, Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, Islamic Finance Working Group, Sharia advisory bodies, and Islamic finance practitioners. A conference or panel of discussion is desirable. The Investment and Securities Tribunal plays a critical role in strengthening confidence in halal investments by providing specialized forum for fair efficient and expert resolution disputes arising from Islamic capital markets products. As Nigeria's halal economy expands, the tribunal's role in safeguarding investor rights and supporting market integrity will become increasingly significant. Distinguished colleagues, the tribunal remains steadfast in its mission to uphold justice in the capital markets. We look forward to continued partnership with the MULAN, Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, in advancing this cause. May this collaboration give lasting impact for our institutions and financial sector as a whole. I thank you all for your patience and attention, and I thank you all for the commitments to the ideals of justice and professionalism. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is MULAN online. Have you been able to start the connection?
Okay.
This is a connection. Have you got her? This is Omobola Akonde. Mr. Akonde, can you hear us? Are you on? Salam. Hello, Mrs. Akande? Yes, sorry. Okay, the MC will do some acknowledgements before we get the technical hitch. If we are unable to get Mr. Akande, we will have time to talk and do more serious matters. But is she online now? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mrs. Omobola Akande. Hello? I think you can do the acknowledgement if she is still awesome. Okay. Okay. Let me give her. Yes. Mrs. Akande? Salaam alaikum. Unmute your camera. Are you with us? Are you with us? Mr. Mobola, are you with us? Okay, we give you 5 minutes if you can go ahead and you've heard what Professor Dogarawa and Barrister Dawaki said, so you can go ahead and contribute. And lower your volume.
Participate in one percent. So how can lawyers can participate on that? And these are such, the lawyers in the public sector, state government, to issues something that I like, also in the public sector, and how sector, small capital market, you are all of that. And then someone else who are also interested in the field, what's number one? When you have to look at my state, you must start by already calculate your finances. So things like I said, management, things like endowment for structural endowment for those endowment to the second, you understand also come up. Because then that's not really to go out and if the local banks opportunities loan transaction, we can have an other workers. What other systems, if you really love and you really like experience, you have capacity. What people are going to do in terms of growing the scope the in the first another opportunity to build up the sector, companies like agriculture, so everyone. So long as we need the right practical, we will speak on their values and because also staying on the matter because what are the words I will actually do we don't have a testing
Since we can't continue since we can't hear. Let's continue. We can't hear, we can't continue.
And then
Mrs. Akonde? Hello? Mrs. Akonde? I'm sorry, Mrs. Akonde? Hello? Mrs. Akonde? Cut her off. So we apologize, we can't get her, so we are just sitting and you can cut her off. Mrs. Adebola, sorry, Omobola, bear with us, we are having technical hitch. We have to cut you off in view of time constraints so that we can make progress. We apologize for the technical hitch. So we cannot just sit down and be listening to cracks. We have to listen to serious matters, so we can now go. There we go. Yes, we do. Yes. Time is fast spent. Let me say quickly, Muslims are not living in their world alone. Even the days of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he lived with non-Muslims. We live with non-Muslims. We do businesses with non-Muslims. And the world is moving very fast. Technology, we contract today with animate and inanimate objects. We give legal advice to people we do not even know. This is why it matters. While our constitution remains static, that Islamic law refers to personal law, Waqf, family law, etc., etc. We know that is not the reality. When during the days of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, someone bought a piece of land. Sorry, he went to work on it and discovered a pot of gold. I took it to the man who sold the land to him. He said, "Here is your pot of gold." And the man said, "No, I sold the land with everything to you." that the two of them were dragging. No, the pot of gold is yours. The pot of gold, no, is not yours. It's mine. It's not mine. Both of them took themselves to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and said, look, sell this pot of gold. You have a child that is grown up. You have a daughter that is grown up, married. You are people of my generation. You are people of honesty. You can imagine in today's world, if someone sells a piece of land, you find a pot of diamond or gold, I'm sure you may change location. These were their days. But in our days, the business world is very shrewd. Lawyers will have to come and interpret. A lot of things happen. And you won't know until this gets to court. And all these things will now come to your face. As MULAN, you have to understand all those things that we were saying in the last session. If people have to adjudicate on things they do not know, there's virtual, there's going to be a problem. So while I open the floor for comments, maybe probably only 5 minutes, get five people to raise their hand and quickly. This is the interesting part of it. Unfortunately, time is our enemy. I will start by the left row. Identify yourself quickly. If it's a question, please ask. Meanwhile, let's do some announcement and recognitions. I know he's going to do it. I've seen Chief Oladoje saying we were together in the Lorin. I know you'll acknowledge them. But I have also seen some, I know. Go ahead quickly so that we can take the questions.
We are attending the presence of Professor Nasir Abdul Senior Executive Secretary. We are attending the presence of Yahya Abdul Senior Executive Nigeria. We are attending the presence of Abdul Adamul Fagir, Senior Executive Nigeria. We are attending the presence of Professor Abdul Nigeria. Sorry, welcome. We are attending the presence of National President of MULAN, Kano, Nigeria. Welcome. We are attending the presence of we have gathered the presence of Dr. Murtala Abdul Rashid, Senior Executive of Nigeria. Very welcome. We have gathered the presence of Sharif Khan, Shiraj Very welcome. We have come to the panel of Adekola Senior Executive Nigeria, second Premier President of MULAN. Very welcome. We have come to the panel of Professor Ibrahim Abdullah, Senior Executive of Nigeria. Very welcome. Concern from Japan as the paper was taken to for
Yes. Oladoja dragged me on Monday to Ilorin and launch of a book on Sharia, trends and events in honor of Justice Oredola JCA retired. So I'm sure that's why you are coming late. Yes, quickly, we don't have time. Give him the microphone. Give the gentleman, the two of them. Please, quickly, we don't have time. All right. Sorry if I rush you and how do I off this? Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Abdullah Alfa Muhammad, MULAN Kaduna branch. First question, we are discussing Islamic finance and investment. I want to ask, is cryptocurrency halal or haram in Islam? That's number one. Number two, what are the challenges in Islamic finance with respect to the tax act passed in Nigeria? Three, and lastly, can Muslims, including students and all of us, take conventional mortgages and student loans and all of those things where there are no alternatives? Thank you.
Yes. Your name, address quickly.
My name is Dr. Murtala Mohammed Abdullah. Thank you, Chairman. I want to comment on behalf of this government. From what we had yesterday this morning and even this topic, we are battling with two major issues, and I think we need to address it. One, the issue of policy and the issue of law. For me, for
be valid? Is there a procedure you follow to verify the source of the investment? Now, secondly, I want to add to the challenges proposed by the first presenter. Now, as legal practitioners, and taking into consideration that we don't have an issuing authority as far as the halal industry is concerned, as lawyers, we may find it difficult to advise candidly because you have fragmentation in terms of certification and in terms of the use of logo. Now, in this respect, it simply means that you may give an advice in relation to cross-border transactions whereby the certification used here in Nigeria may not actually be the certification that is rendered valid in another country. Now, in this respect, as lawyers, you may run into the problems of not advising your client candidly. And that is why we must strive as much as possible to ensure that we go for a federal regulation that will now have a single issuing authority, whereas we can be talking about those that will do the accreditation for the purposes of having one single certification. That will ease the work of the lawyers in cases of advising their clients candidly. And now to the second presenter, sir. Your presentation shows the limited nature of the powers or jurisdiction of the Investment and Security Tribunal. Definitely, it does not cover all cases of the halal ecosystem. Now, my question is this. Do you see a possibility of us having a Sharia capital market? Or, if you don't see the possibility of us having a Sharia capital market, can the existence of SEC take care of the possibility of amending SEC to take care of other issues not covered by the powers vested on the Investment and Securities Tribunal? As far as I'm concerned, sir, it's a beautiful moment for the Investment and Security Tribunal to showcase itself. Because I must tell you, not everybody knows the existence and the modus operandi of the Investment and Security Tribunals. And that explains why limited numbers of cases are being filed in the Investment and Securities Tribunal. So I will implore you that this is a good moment. You have come, you have showcased, you have enlightened us, but I want you to look at the possibility of doing the same thing at the NBA Annual General Conference coming up in Port Harcourt. Have a breakout session and tell us more about the Investment and Securities Tribunal. Thank you.
Yes. Please quickly make it short. If it's a comment, what you know, just ask questions. If there are questions, please.
Okay, sir, it's a comment and suggestion, sir.
1 minute.
Okay. Let me go straight to the point, like I was instructed to do. So we have been having series of lecture on this issue of Sharia governance, certification, and Islamic financing system at the national level. My suggestion is that we have judges or Sharia court judges and lawyers that are not actively participating in most of the MULAN activities at national level. So there is need to stay down this trend, because I see it as a trend, to send it down to our respective states, and if possible, MULAN leadership from our respective states to collaborate with the state judicial science information to see how they can come up with workshops and seminars to enlighten our judicial staff officers, especially those using the Sharia court system, so that they can get well appraised with this.
You have to vote on terms of Mr. Ibrahim Umar on the first or second session. So you have to vote on terms. Rambula will do that.
Okay,
Please.
thank you, sir. That is very, very good.
Okay, give the next person, and that will be the last question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think he has actually hit the nail on the head. My actual suggestion is for MULAN to collaborate with some institutions. We have some institutions within Nigeria and outside Nigeria that actually offer trainings in the areas of Islamic finance. And the way the industry is moving at a very high speed, I think it is high time we did that. So this is just my own business. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, Prof, I think we take the vice secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, distinguished participants, for your feedback. Quickly, the question on cryptocurrency. Let me quickly say that there is an ongoing debate among the contemporary scholars regarding the permissibility or otherwise of cryptocurrency. Two very prominent or popular views are that one, it is not permissible. I mean, it is permissible on the basis that it is a form of transaction, and that it is also a form of money, because money is anything that is generally accepted by people. Imam Malik was reported to have said, as documented in the book of Al-Mudawwana, that whatever people tax, even if it is the hides of camel, to be, the source of exchange, source of settlement of transaction, so be it. So it means it's not about the type or what the kind, but what people have generally accepted. So for that reason, they say it is permissible, and that most of the trades that take place using cryptocurrency are legitimate and halal based. But if it is not halal, then it's not halal on the basis of the kind of transaction, but not on the basis of the kind of currency or the kind of instrument. The other group insisted that it is not permissible. They said because one of the principles of Islamic finance in Islam is the issue of avoiding excessive uncertainty. Now, because of lack of comprehensive legislation on cryptocurrency in Nigeria, for example, if there is any litigation or if there is any dispute that will lead to litigation, which courts will you take and assume that it has jurisdiction? So they said on the basis of the Sharaf al-Mali, one of the maqasid of Sharia is preservation of wealth. So if wealth can just be bastardized anyhow because there is no adequate protection from the part of the government, then that would not be permissible. They said until and unless there is adequate legislation that will protect people who are into cryptocurrency, it won't be permissible. The debate is very lengthy. I have a small write-up on this cryptocurrency, and maybe I will share with Barrister Hamza, who probably will share with you. Then conventional mortgages. Well, unfortunately, what we are seeing in conventional mortgages is that they charge 5% to 7% interest. And interest, whether small or big, is actually not permissible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَذَرْهُ مَا بَكِيَ مِنَ الرِّبَا. So whether little or much, it is not permissible. Now the question is, what if there are no alternatives? Now, the next thing we will ask is, has it taken you to the point of darura? If it is darura, then we can say a darura to qaddaru bi qadariha. Now, what type of darura is it? Is it a darura that you must own a house through mortgages, or it is not a darura? Now, this depends on the assessment of your condition and whether truly it is darura that will qualify for going for it. But good news. The good news is that soon, inshallah, Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria will come up with a non-interest alternative to the conventional form they are doing, inshallah. Just like Bank of Industry, it has already started. So Mortgage Bank will soon do that, inshallah. Then the issue of the source of investment. In Islamic jurisprudence, as you know, it is not the business of the financial institution or your business partner to know the source of your money. He is not even allowed, or rather, no one asks him or encourages him to ask him what is the source. He has no power, no any moral, standing to ask you about the source of your investment. However, if the source of the investment is known by the bank or by the investment company or by the Islamic fund, and the source turned out to be an illegitimate source, then it's not permissible for the bank or for the investment company to accept your funds and invest it for you on the basis of Allah saying, وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. But if we do not know the source, we did not disclose, it's not our responsibility to verify. Allah did not ask us to do that. The Prophet ﷺ did not ask us. Our jurists did not ask us, so we will not go ahead and do it. Lastly, Prof from Udu, thank you very much for your comment. But let me also say that what is happening in the halal economy ecosystem is that there will be no problem for anyone going outside Nigeria to actually, expose any of the halal certified product. This is because currently the standards that we are using in Nigeria is CIVIC standard. And CIVIC standard is accepted across all the countries that are OIC members. Again, there are some countries that are not OIC members, but they recognize CIVIC standard. And then for us, like in Nigeria, we have gone to, I was trained actually, Professor Adam Abubakar and Dr. Ashef, we are all trained on both JAKIM of Malaysia and CIVIC. And if you combine the two standards, JAKIM and CIVIC, there is no place in the world, no country in the world that will not recognize our program. So what we are starting now in Nigeria after the launch of the halal economy strategy is that the two, even though CIVIC is officially recognized in Nigeria, but for us, the practitioners, we are trying to embrace the two so that we can see, depending on where you are taking your products, we can always advise you based on the standard and certify you based on the requirement of the standard of either Jackie Malaysia or Cynic, so that wherever you go, it will be relevant, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Yes. Before I call you, Prof from University of Sokoto, we must also be fair to your colleague. When we go into cross-border finance, cross-border insolvency, and cross-border investments, it cannot be discussed honestly in fairness in this forum. Not only having regards to the time at our disposal, but it's a whole topic of its own. I've done cross-border insolvency, I've done cross-border finance, I've traveled, I know what it is. Nigeria, until of late, has not even done cross-border regime legislation. Even here, we are unable to manage our own Sharia matters. And if you add up to that, with the cross-border insolvency that has been lying at the national, even the one we copied, there's no harm in copy, we can't only invent. Word for word, we have not been able to pass it. The practitioners in insolvency law will tell you cross-border finance is a different category. Although the world is now a global village, we have not been able to, as a nation, do that. That's why I give no investment to agreement. On money laundering, whether he is saying it or not, but if you know, as an investor, the source of the money is haram, of course. But what did the hadith say? Al-halal, Bible, al-haram, Bible, I know man. And when they go to with the respect to the ulamas who are very good in Arabic, go to that hadith. What happens when you are doubtful to the gray area? But as a legal practitioner and as a lecturer, I think you should think, let us think of a day on this cross-border and this money laundering thing. We cannot do justice to it now. These are areas I know very well. I've delivered papers, I've delivered lectures, I've done judgment of it. We can't do justice to it at the moment. These are the Islamic questions. Please go.
Your question goes limited jurisdiction of halal products, Sharia capital markets, SEC powers, and the need for more enlightenment campaign. Let me break the news to you. We have already secured a session in this year's annual general conference, taking place in Port Harcourt. So we are going to have a full session discussing about the Investment and Securities Tribunal, the powers, the jurisdictions, the limitations, and whatever. Then on the issue of the jurisdictional tribunal having a limited jurisdiction on halal products, so the tribunal is governed and guided by the Investment and Securities Act. Then the SEC rules and regulations made there under. So whatever that is embodied in the Act and the SEC regulations, SEC rules and regulations, is what the tribunal actually use to adjudicate or to resolve issues. Then, most importantly, the tribunal, for all intents and purposes, is a civil court. The tribunal does not entertain criminal cases. So criminal cases are referred to the regular courts. Thank you. On cryptocurrency, another Prof spoke about the Islamic aspect. But the new Investment and Securities Act 2025 covers digital assets, crowdfunding, fund management, cryptocurrency, any form of digital transactions. The new act covers, which empowers Securities and Exchange Commission to regulate, and where disputes arise and the SEC cannot resolve the issues amicably, then definitely the tribunal assumes the jurisdiction to decide or to resolve the issue. Thank you.
Well, the House of says life in that Igarewa. We have no choice but to draw the curtain. And, thank you for giving me the opportunity to chair. Let me hand the microphone to the MC quickly. If there's any other thing.
Thank you very much, Kano. Considering the time constraints, I respectfully invite Dr. Mitra Patrick, Senior Executive Director. So I enjoyed Mustafa Angola, second president of MULAN. Hello, and this we have on my behalf, and not only I request the president to apologize on my behalf because this is the second time I'm making a mistake of saying the name of the second president of MULAN. Please let us appreciate this panel, starting from my noble lord, the chairman of the occasion and the presenters. The second premier president. Over to you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. On behalf of my president and the members of the Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, as well as other presidents here present, I want to sincerely appreciate our distinguished panelists, starting with the chairman. We are pleased with your erudition, and you can be sure, sir, that MULAN will always find time to bring you back again. The main speaker, you spoke as if the day was not going to end. If we were to allow you to continue the way you were going, I'm sure the dinner we brought to meet us here. We appreciate your erudition. We are happy to have people like you, very knowledgeable. We appreciate you. And our brother to the left, to the right of the distinguished chairman, we appreciate you too. And with the assurance you have given us, I'm sure most of our colleagues here who never plan to be at Port Harcourt will be there, inshallah. Generally, we appreciate all of you on behalf of the Muslim Association of Nigeria, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, the second president. Please, may I respectfully invite Alhaji Tajuddin Ladoja, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and Professor Kazim Olania. Alhaji Tajuddin Ladoja is the third pioneer president of MULAN, while Professor Kazim Olania is also a past president of MULAN. To kindly please come forward for presentation of award to my noble lord and the speakers. And while they are coming, may I acknowledge the presence of Lawal Hudu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, MOJ Chemistry. Lawal Hudu. You equally acknowledge the presence of Latif Olayemi Akabe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. So you are equally welcome. We equally acknowledge the presence of Chidi Kezengwa. So you are also welcome. Yes. Alhaji Ibrahim Kumar, the second pioneer president, you can give us presenters for it also. Now, where are the photographers?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. On behalf of Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, it's my honor and privilege to present an award of appreciation to my noble lord, Honorable Justice Ibrahim Umar retired, one of our own, with whom we are profoundly pleased. He was one of the movers and shakers of MULAN in Kano when he was in practice. We cannot thank you enough for being with us. It is in respect of your immense contribution particularly a sharing session at the century of the this plan, a mark of, I'm sorry, the eyes are getting, yes, in recognition of your distinguished service as chairman of the session at the MULAN Canada Congress 2006, your exemplary leadership and environmental contribution greatly the success of the conference. We deeply appreciate your lordship's leadership during the session. In fact, wow, I was policy, MULAN Canada 2026.
Mustafa Agbarere say,
On behalf of the entire Muslim Brotherhood Association of Nigeria, besides to every person, the professor giving about this.
Recognition of that ability, your service to MULAN, especially this particular conference, 2026 Kano, I present to you having the singular honor on behalf of all past presidents to Professor Dugarawa, learned professor, and of course, very erudite guest lecturer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And of course, to you, sir. When you are in law school, when anybody tells us investments and security tribunal, we say, wow, so many sessions that you have to follow, regulatory. Sir, to you and the deep knowledge which you have shared today, we are so grateful to you. In appreciation of this, on behalf of the past president of MULAN and the entire members of Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, I present to Barrister Sani Dawaiki. I won't say Esquire again because I'm saying Barrister. To you, yes, we have too much for that comprehensive award. Sir, we appreciate you. Thank you very much for this conference at Kano 2026. Thank you for coming and for sharing us with this knowledge. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you. We continue to give our support more. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. We thank MULAN and like
Of course. Prof, thank you so much. I was in Mina.
Yes, that's true.
That's true. Yes, and I was also in FCT
That's right. Okay.
So I'm a friend of Mulan.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
For our members that are coming down from the high school,
Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah reward you abundantly. May I acknowledge the presence of Mustafa Shuaibu Aberere, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Sir, you are welcome. May I equally acknowledge the presence of okay, may I recognize yes, Mustafa Shuaibu Aberere. Sir, you are welcome, sir. You are welcome, sir. Yes. We equally acknowledge the DDT of the Nigerian Law School, Yola campus, in person of Salman Muhammad Ridwan. Sir, you are equally welcome. The days, we acknowledge our own, the Deputy Commissioner of Police, popularly known as Shika in this jurisdiction. Sir, you are welcome. The day is far gone, and we have other programs. The organizers have been informing us that they need to organize the venue because there is another important item from the agenda, which is the annual general meeting. It is a tradition. It comes up every year where every member, every conferee is expected to be there. Lot of issues are discussed of general concern concerning the association. From the agenda, it was formally scheduled for 4:30, and it is almost 5 o'clock now. We are yet to observe our Asri prayer. May I be directed as to the time to inform our members that immediately after our Asri prayers, we are coming down for the annual general meeting. And after the general meeting, there is also the MULAN conference dinner, where we come together to embrace ourselves, to show that bond of Islamic brotherhood. Everyone is expected to be there. We embrace each other. The fact that we are coming from the northern, the southern, and the eastern part of the country, that we are all Muslims. We are all here as families. Even the non-Muslims are here. We share love together by virtue of being human beings. We are all from Adam. We invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward every one of us abundantly. By this, we have come to the end of this program. May I invite Tijani Inwadusi MNI to give us. Yeah? Mr. Lori, talk, please. Eh? Oh, yes, don't know. Alaji Ibrahim,
You will call somebody to give the prayer.
Okay.
When I come to Shida, I send 10 minutes. I go I send
Adaw, 10 minutes. So we'll observe our Salat al-Asri within 10 minutes and come back for the annual general meeting. Please, every one of us is enjoying to be here for the annual general meeting. May I invite our erudite professor, Senior Advocate of Nigeria from Usman Danfodio University, to kindly give us the closing prayer.
Where is it?
Yes, sir. Wakauna. Very sorry for the ambush.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم في العالمين انك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين